Hi, fans of high quality entertainment. We are back and we are going to be reviewing and rating whatever albums we were given. And I was given, I thought I had them here. I don't. I was given Eddie Vedder's Into the Wild to review and rate, and Queens of the Stone Age Songs for the Deaf. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Songs for the Deaf.
What?
And
this one.
There you go. Yeah.
And this one. Both
Okay.
picks were mine.
Yeah.
So you can now tell me if I was an abject failure.
Yeah, I will. Oh, I will. Don't worry. Yeah. And I gave out this album to Marcia, Chris, and Steve.
I picked it.
And what else did you guys review and rate?
I also did Queens of the Stone Age.
Mm-hmm. I did Explorer's Club, Grand Hotel.
Mm-hmm. And I have Queens of the Stone Age and Eddie Vedder, the same as Larry.
I chose the Richard Howley album, Cole's Corner, and the Ween album.
Yep.
Okay. And Chris, you also selected the Ween album, yeah.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So I'll go first because I don't want to know what Glenn thinks yet. But I will say this. As soon as I started listening to Queens of the Stone Age, after the intro, the radio show a little bit, and the second song, You Think I Ain't Worth a Dollar, But I Feel Like a Millionaire, I said to myself, this is not good for Glenn. Because the guy's screaming, and I just knew Glenn's not a screamer, right, Glenn?
No, Larry, I'm not.
But I'll just quickly say I enjoyed both albums a lot, but I liked one more than the other until the last couple of listens when I switched them. So out of the two, Songs of the Deaf, I would give a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
I loved most of the songs. There's two songs where there's, screaming vocals. I'm not a fan of, just like Glenn, I'm not a fan of screaming vocals. But even those, after a few listens, you kind of get used to it. But there's so many great guitar riffs in this. It's really heavy, but I love heavy. I'm into Black Sabbath and all that, Motorhead. And I was familiar with, I think No One Knows It. I'd heard it on YouTube or whatever. But they're just catchy songs. I love the vocals. I love everything about it. I would give that a 9 out of 10, like I said. Eddie Vedder. Mm-hmm. I knew Glenn would like this one. As soon as I'm always thinking of Glenn when I'm listening to these albums. No, because he has them too, right?
Is there any reason for me to be on here, Larry?
And the first two songs are really short, and it's kind of almost shocking. Like the song's over, it just started. And then, but once again, you get used to it, and it is a full song. It's not like you're being cheated or whatever. It's a complete song, even if it's like a minute and a half. I love Eddie's vocals. I was a fan of Pearl Jam for some of their albums back, like No Code and a couple of others. I love every song. My favorites are Hard Sun, such a great song, Rise, End of the Road, and Guaranteed. And the whole album just flows smoothly from start to finish. I would definitely buy both of these, and I would give Eddie Vedder's album a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
It's like a masterpiece.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Steve?
Okay. All right. So I selected, Marcia had presented Queens of the Stone Age, and Larry had presented Ween. So I will do Marcia's first. Queens of the Stone Age I don't know if you knew, Marcia, but there's a connection between the two albums. Dean Ween is on Queens of the
Yes.
Stone Age. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
I
used
totally
that
forgot
as a
about that.
selling
Okay, yeah.
point.
Yeah, I found it out while I was just kind of looking at the
Queen
Wikipedia.
and Ween rhyme.
Yeah. So let's see. Okay, yeah, you think it ain't worth a dollar? That I was kind of like with you on that, Larry. It's a good riff, but I was not wild about the vocals because
Yeah.
it's borderline Cookie Monster vocals there on that song. But other than that, I did like the song. I think the next song, No One Knows, that was probably my favorite song on the album, and to me, that's kind of like where they hit hit the ground running. This is to me the best stretch of the album. The Sky is Falling, that reminds me a little bit of Alice in Chains. I don't know if you're familiar with this band, Marcia. Ours, Ours,
Mm-mm.
and it's the album is called Distorted Lullabies. If you like Queens of the Stone Age, I think you would like this album. I hear a lot of similarities. So the only other thing I did not like about the album is the little radio drop-ins. To me, it's kind of like they're doing their version of the Who Sell Out.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't like that on the Who Sell Out either. It's just not for me. I want the music. So I gave this album a 7. And strap in, Larry, it gets worse. I chose, yes. You know how you'll be in a record store and they're playing an album and you'll go up to the counter and say, who are these guys? Well, if this was on, I would say, well, these guys know who they are. This is such a frustrating, schizophrenic album. These guys just don't know their sound. And I will say, the songs that I liked, I really liked. The songs that I didn't like, I really did not like. I mean, that first song, it opens up to me. I did not expect this sound coming out of a band named Ween, because that first song, they sound like Motorhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm hearing. And then Zoloft, to me, that's like the B-side of Kokomo by the Beach Boys, you know? It's got that kind of feel to it. You know, you got some acoustic numbers, you got a bunch of throwaway songs in there, you know, like So Many People in the Neighborhood and Hey There, Fancy Pants. So, you know, the other song, the Chocolate Song.
Yeah.
That I love the guitar solo in that song. Really like that. And I Don't Want It. That's another one. That song I give a 9. But the album on a whole, because like I say, the songs that I don't like really drag it down. Songs I like, I'm giving a 8. The songs I dislike, I'm giving it a 4. So it's going to average out to a 6.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Glenn.
Okay. Let's start by saying I grew up with that cardinal rule that I think a lot of our parents told us about. They said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So I'm going to go on to the second album. Okay. Now, Queens of the Stone Age. Oh, man. The last 2 comments I put on my notes here were not in my wheelhouse, gave me a headache. So, first track, There's Nothing There. The song, it's the real song of the deaf. So I kind of got the joke after 30 seconds. And then second track, hated the screaming vocal. Third track, I thought it was getting a little better. I thought, okay, they've kind of redeemed themselves a little bit. It's a good riff, and it was good rocker. Then there was a song for the Dead with a heavy guitar, and the drums were so freaking busy. I guess that was my friend David Grohl on the drums.
Yeah.
Oh my God, just shut up, David. And then Sky is Falling, much more interesting track to start, and then instantly gets to that freaking, and then so I hated it. Personally, I give it a 2 out of 10, and I'm being very kind with the 2. But then I'm thinking, okay, well, I really got to look at this critically, like for the type of music it is. I should try and review it as if I'm a music reviewer, not my personal taste in music. So I thought if I was doing that and just, how good the musicianship is and everything, I mean, and the songs and whatever they did for that type of stuff, I said 7 out of 10. So I split the difference between the 2 and the 7 and came up with 4.5 out of 10. But not in my wheelhouse at all. Eddie Vedder. Larry said 10 out of 10. I'm going to best him and say 11 out of 10 just to top Larry. No, I was going to say 9.5 out of 10. This is right in my wheelhouse. I freaking loved every second of this album.
Yeah.
I love the acoustic stuff. I mean, 16 tracks. All the tracks are fairly short. Maybe a couple that edge over 2 minutes, and most of them are probably under. Alt rock, kind of a country vibe. Reminded me a bit of like a Sun Volt, Uncle Tupelo kind of feel. Fave tracks, number 2, no ceiling. Rise, the mandolin playing in that is just freaking blew my mind. I loved it. Song called Tulum. It's song number 6. Great acoustic guitar in that. Hard Sun is just a cool song anyway. And guaranteed, the finger-picked acoustic track, guaranteed. I just loved it. So I ordered it actually from a used CD store in where my daughter lives. And I went to pick it up yesterday. It hadn't come in yet. So, Marcia, you're going to get 5 bonus points. For me, I wanted to show it this morning because I absolutely loved it. Thank you so much for bringing it.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it. I thought you would because it's not a Pearl Jam record. It's a roots rock record.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Did you get it from Bright Light Books?
No, I got it from a store called Deja Vu Discs. It's by my daughter's house, but I went.
Oh, okay. Your daughter's in Canada.
And they had to bring it in from another location. And my other daughter. Yeah, and then it hadn't come in yet. So it's coming in Monday, I think.
There are some Pearl Jam songs that are kind of similar to that music. Not all of them, of course, but there are some great Pearl Jam songs and albums.
Yeah. They do some acoustic numbers and stuff for sure, but overall, they're much heavier.
Yeah,
like Elderly Woman Behind the Counter in a Small Town could fit on the Into the Wild soundtrack.
I can see that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, Marcia, you're next.
Okay, so I reviewed the Richard Hawley album, and I took notes. So if you care to indulge me, I'll read them. So the review Steve read about the album mentioned it was lovely, and it is indeed that. I liked this album very, very much. This is a really, really great album. It's very much mood music and a throwback. I imagine putting this album on when I'm very elegantly dressed up, possibly wearing, elbow length gloves, and I have no place to go and I'm drinking a cocktail and feeling melancholy. This is a wonderful record. Some of the reviews and articles I read had said that he's trying to do a Scott Walker and a Jacques Brel thing, but I don't find him as dramatic or as bombastic as either one of them. To me, he sounds like a less slick Andy Williams. Like, I totally was expecting to hear Moon River covered on this album, and that is not a slam because Moon River is a gorgeous song. And he's I didn't realize that this was going to be like a crooner album. The Ocean is incredible. I Sleep Alone is the most modern sounding, and it doesn't quite fit on the album, but I absolutely loved that song. And I liked his country turn with Wading Through the Waters of My Time. And his version of Who's Gonna Shoe Your Pretty Little Feet is almost as good as the Everly Brothers. And that is about the highest praise I can give any album. I have bought this. I am waiting to get it. And I give this a 9 out of 10.
Wow, that is high
I
praise.
give it a
from
whole
Marcia.
lot of love.
Really high praise from Marcia. She was given like
Yeah.
I don't have here. Let me grab my
No,
card.
She's got like 5 albums in her entire lifetime that she gives a 10.
I like this very much.
wow.
Now I'm really worried.
Yeah.
But I can only listen. But I imagine this isn't. Well, never mind. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I listened to this album mostly November, December, January, February.
Yeah, this is not a summer album.
No.
This is an album you put on a cold night in February, which
Mhm.
here in Orlando means 73 degrees.
Yeah.
Wow. Very good.
Thank you, Steve.
And what's your
I-
second?
I would have never listened to this if you hadn't recommended it.
Yeah.
Wow. This is the great thing about doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Now let's hear what you think about Ween.
I'm gonna go with if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
This
But
isn't looking good for
too.
Glenn listening
It's
to
a
it.
you're no good.
Oh, whoa.
Wow.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good. I'm loving the Ween.
Chris, save me, please, for the love of God.
I'm loving
All
it.
right. Well, I like eclectic artists, and if an artist bounces around with different sounds on a record, it doesn't distress me. And they did that. Like you mentioned, it's impossible not to think Motorhead when you hear it's going to be a long night, but that's not a bad thing. I think it kind of surprised me, But I also like Zoloft. I like Transdermal Celebration. And I liked that last song, If You Could Save Yourself, You'd Save Us All.
Yeah.
That has a really big kind of glam rocky 70s chorus with the minor chords that just almost like a rock and roll suicide type ending of an album. I like that. So they hit the mark a lot. As a cohesive work, there were songs that I weren't crazy about. But the ones that I liked, I really liked. So for Ween, I'm going to go for a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
That's going to be my call for that one. And for the Explorer's Club, Grand Hotel, at the end of hearing that record, I felt like jumping on a plane, flying to Minneapolis, going in the middle of a busy street, spinning around and throwing my hat up in the air like Mary Tyler Moore. It for two reasons. Number one, the music sounds like it could have been some of the themes to shows like Mary Tyler Moore. But number two, it's just delightful. The whole record to me was just delightful.
It's delightful.
It is, it just is a happy.
I didn't eviscerate it, Steve.
It's a happy record. You hear elements of all kinds of great things. I like when people kind of go back and try to harness the older sounds. Bands like the Wondermints or like High Llamas and things like that, or Jellyfish used to do it, where you hear elements of the older records. I like when people can pull that off, and they can pull that off convincingly. I'm all for that, and I feel like this record did. I even heard like Martin Denny and like Les Baxtery kinds of exotica feels in this thing too, which I love. I like everything. So I will give this one an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
All right.
So,
Larry, let's see. We got a 950. That averages out to a 5 for Ween.
Glenn,
Oh,
I can't wait
so
for you
much
to choose
better
this
now.
in the next video.
Oh,
Okay, so that's it for this. And one other thing, I am retiring from this album exchange as of now.
We're gonna miss you, buddy.
yeah.
So yeah, don't say it.
I'm just gonna say, if I don't have anything nice to say,
Yeah.
So thanks everybody, and next up we're going to be doing a new round of album exchanges. So make sure you subscribe to All the World's a Stage, Glenn Kellaway from the Basement, Marsha P, and also check out Refresher Podcast from Chris. Thanks everybody. Bye.